you check the children. Show a little match sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Fuego here.
Here to discuss a brand new recent release, although straight to VOD for us, but
2021.
this is a movie that we did a trailer reaction to, and we were all supremely excited to give it a try.
Yes, indeed.
And then it finally dropped. We watched it right away, and quite frankly, it, to me, delivered.
Agreed.
I think this movie, well, let's just say we're talking about Psycho Goreman.
PG.
PG for short. Yeah, this is a pure 80s throwback independent horror production that, to me, is right in line with, you could have Psycho Goreman be a wonderful double bill with Turbo Kid.
Yes.
And you would have a fan-fucking-tastic Friday or Saturday night double feature experience.
I would love to see that. You could, like, grindhousey sort of double feature, you know, at the drive-in.
Throw a couple trailers in the middle of them.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, follow up from the guy who did The Void, Canadian horror in this regard, and there is just something about the Great White North and their appreciation, whether it's our friends from Black Fawn or, I mean, whoever it may be.
RKSS guys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they have this just in-tuned, I don't know, they can tap into that sort of just fond memory base and recreate it and make it not feel just superficial or off-putting or forced or whatever. It feels natural in that regard, and this totally felt like it could have been right out of that era, man.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I really enjoyed this movie. This is absolutely a throwback, and it's one of those throwbacks that was obviously made nowadays because you could almost say that this is a kid's horror movie.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that
violence.
there's so much violence and gore.
Because there's like one F word in this movie. They're saying frig like most of the time, man.
Yeah.
Heck and frig.
And it surrounds this little girl and her brother, like, the entire movie. So it is like, you know, Ernest Scared Stupid or whatever, but it is
Monster
just
Squad.
Monster Squad, but
yeah.
just dialed up to like 13. You know what I mean?
I would always say 11, but nevertheless, yeah, this is even more so.
13's
give
a
him,
scarier number.
Give them 2 more. Sure.
So yeah, guys, Psycho Goreman overall, I enjoyed the hell out of this movie, and we'll dive into why. But Fuego, what about you?
Yeah, man, 2 thumbs up, way up. I think Siskel and Ebert would have said back in the day, man, or in the marketing campaigns would have. This was one that I was worried wasn't going to meet my expectations, and maybe to the tiniest degree, it didn't. But I still friggin' loved it. From the practical design to the acting from these kids, and I say all the time on this channel, and I think this goes back to when you and I were first talking about it 2017, where like anytime a director can get a great performance out of kids, like, because it has to be a combination of both charisma in the case of our lead little lady and direction to like make sure she fits the character and the portrayal properly. Our little lady who plays Mimi is so friggin' good in this, or so freaking, whatever the hell the word that they always use, but heck is she great. And yeah, man, the practical effects of these gross creatures, including Mr. PG himself, and just all of the strange little nuances, and also his monologues about personal history and the utter insanity of it, in the fact that they're like, yeah, that's really boring. Like, you know, how about you play their crazy ball with them? Yeah, man. This movie was a legit delight, throwback in every just genuinely affectionate variety. And so, yeah, I did love Psycho Goreman. I did.
For sure. So, story-wise, this movie is about 2 young siblings. I mean, I would put them at what? 11 and 13? 10 and 12?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd say like maybe late middle school, early junior high, like 6th, 7th grade, something like that, you know?
But they happen across this sort of insignia in the ground that has a gem, you know, in the center of it, and they pull the gem out, and then, stuff starts to shake, and they basically book it.
You just made the table shake.
Yeah, exactly. and then, something emerges from the hole while they're not there, but when they go back, they see a giant hole in the backyard, and they don't know what was there, but it turns out that they have freed a monster from another planet, another dimension even, from Gygax. and basically they, in the meantime, while they're trying to figure out what's going on, this creature just completely brutalizes and murders a few, homeless people, hobos, whatever. But in the, it starts to happen, and then it cuts away to the kids, and then the kids eventually happen across where this happened, and you see the aftermath, and there's one person that's literally been pulled into pieces and arranged like artwork in a chain link fence. Another guy basically pleaded for his life and said, "I don't want to die," and so Psycho Goreman's like, "You won't." And so they arrive, and he's in this forever state of completely frozen torture or whatever.
It's some Hellraiser shit, man. I mean, without joking about it.
But the kids show up, and they have this gem, and Psycho Goreman is about to attack, and the girl's like, "Stop!" And he has to listen because they're in control of the gem, just like, a genie in the lamp kind of thing. And so she basically says, "No, you're going to be my pet, essentially, and we're going to go about life, and we're going to have fun. You're going to be my best friend, and that's how it's going to go." And as silly and stupid as that sounds, it meshes so wonderfully with what actually happens with the gore and the absolute utter silliness of the other dimensions and the other dimension creatures that all actually come into play. There's this big interdimensional battle at one point that it's nuts.
Pandora, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, without spoiling what happens in the movie, it's about this little girl, her pet, who they name Psycho Goreman, and her brother, and how she chooses to utilize him in her daily life.
Yeah, and it's funny when they're going about even trying to name him and stuff. I mean, so funny. But biggest thing for me with the story here is the fact that if not for great direction and performance and stuff, all of these jagged, disjointed little bits wouldn't necessarily all fit together very well. But the fact that they just had a vision and made sure everybody was on the same page and made it work. This is, even though it's a lower budget film, this is not an easy kind of stew or brew or whatever to actually make, because there's so many different moving pieces within it, and all of its bonkers wackiness, and also the fact that they developed this family, and not just the brother-sister aspect where we've got Mimi and Luke, and the fact that yes, I did
Mimi and Boy.
Yeah, exactly, because he can't remember her name throughout
his name. Yeah.
But and also Alistar, the friend who something very amusing happens to, which is great. But yeah, the fact that there's a specific dynamic with every member of this family together, whether it's the brother and sister, or whether it's the mom and the dad and their own weird little struggles and stuff like that, the laziness.
What did you do in this microwave? I made a wonderful dinner for my family. Why?
She totally finished all of my delicious chicken.
Tears, and she's just like, it's so funny to me, dude.
And the constant
their dynamic was so funny.
No, and when he's trying to dig, and he's after one shovel, and he's my hand. And then you see him with the little wrist thing on, he's like, I can't go back to work.
And he slams his hand down to stand up off the chair.
Yeah, there's a lot of choice bits in this, even beyond that, but also the banter that is written between, it's almost somewhere between Doctor Who, Farscape, sort of bit where we see...
And Bill and Ted.
Yeah, that too. This whole, interplanetary council of sorts, and when they're all sitting around and they're arguing at one point about who's hogging the blue noodles that are for everybody. I mean, there is so much silliness within this that... I love horror and sci-fi and fantasy elements when they combine with comedy, but when they do it well and when the jokes actually hit. And in this case, for the most part, they most definitely did.
Yeah, and moving into the acting, I mean, we talked about it briefly already, but part of why this movie is so enjoyable is the acting of all of the leads. The main four-person family and the Psycho Goreman creature himself. All of the interactions that we get to, they take shortcuts story-wise to get to certain places. There's montages, and suddenly
Conveniences.
people are okay with him when they were really frightened of him just very briefly beforehand.
Yeah,
but
to quote Pitch, because moving.
yeah,
Exactly.
So
It has to happen.
all that happens, but it's still enjoyable. And the acting, again, the parents are really funny. The father is so funny, but the relationship that they have with the little girl, who is just this little rambunctious girl that just has all the answers, but when, like, she to me was the absolute standout, because they're like,
Definitely.
when you guys, she injures her brother playing this game that they've come up with together that they call Crazy Ball, and her family calls it something else, and she's just like, it's Crazy Ball! Like, the way she delivers it is so over the top and funny, and then, like,
Just
she
about
berates
everything
them,
about
and as they're walking out of the room, she throws the covers over her head, and she sticks her arm out, and is just like, Dad! And he, like, sees it, and he just comes running back and gives her a high five, and then throws up the horns on the way out of the room. Like, it's just the level of character development and entertainment that we get just from those main characters. Like, that's what makes these kinds of horror movies so enjoyable, is when the things in between the craziness and the effects, if all of that is interesting too, then you have a true recipe for success. And the acting only benefited all of that.
Yeah, man. If the banter and just the interplay and the development of these people within those little ebbs and flows, as you were mentioning, doesn't amount to much of anything, you're not going to give a crap, But Mimi's, it's the dichotomy and just the drastic difference between her and as great as she was, I have to shout out the voice actor. I don't know if it was the same person ADRing or the same person like in the suit or whatever that voiced Psycho Goreman, but holy crap, his delivery of all of this ominous like description of his history
So much
and what he
deadpan.
intends to do. I mean, it just, the contrast was what made this so immensely amusing, as Mimi's like derpily just going around about it, and then when you actually have Psycho Goreman constantly contend how he's gonna kill and destroy everything. And that's it. Yeah, and we didn't talk. And we did not talk about within the story assessment a choice they make at the end of this movie was very, very funny to me, as regards to what actually goes down. But yeah, his delivery, also the derpiness of all of those council members in this intergalactic federation or whatever the hell it is. I thought they were all great. One in particular who's like fanning himself the whole time. I mean, man, the acting was just amusing throughout, including when some of Psycho Goreman's former peeps show up, and just that whole I'm not going to spin. Yeah, exactly. I was about to say what it actually turns into, but I had to. Then you jumped.
You don't
in
mean fight,
just
do you?
Yeah.
Oh, oops.
A little bit of contentiousness, and being former master and whatnot. But yeah, man, I was immensely amused. This is much more so a comedy with horror, fantasy, science fiction elements, and comedy is at the forefront. So don't go in expecting something a little more like The Void, where I was trying to remember if The Void even really had a lot of like little comedic little snippets here and there. I didn't recall too many personally. This is definitely much more so of that Turbo Kid,
again, yeah, the Turbo Kid
Deathgasm
type
sort of approach.
Feel is what I got the most out of
Big
it.
time.
Now I do want to touch on the sound design and music.
The music, of course.
Because yeah, the musical score is great. It's got a whole bunch of cool like metalish stuff, as
right
well
at the beginning,
as
during the
synth
Crazy Ball
stuff.
yeah.
Like they use a lot of great things, and they do it very well. And then there's a really funny end credits rap song that tells the story of the movie the way that movies in the 90s used to do.
PG for short.
Yeah. Half shell, the heroes in the hole. In this day and age, who can ask for more?
Very much so. The whole storytelling rap that was so popular back in the day, man, they throw right back to that.
So that is all tremendous, but effects-wise, guys, the effects are where, this is effects. If you've seen Turbo Kid, you know what good, great throwback 80s effects look like. But guys, this is effects on par with like From Beyond, like those movies that we've recently been showing our reviews of on the channel, where it's like the quality 80s Lovecraftian like slick and jelly and gross, but all
Grimy.
wholly practical.
Yummy.
Wholly practical.
Yeah.
At WHOLEY.
Spell it
Wholly
proper.
practical.
Just won the spelling bee.
Yeah, it is so awesome as a result of them focusing on that with the effects and just using digital stuff to enhance here and there.
Yeah,
I mean, this
just a
movie
little
is
bit.
all the stronger as a result of all of that.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of digital like illumination at times around characters, or they film they film a practical face at one particular point where the father
Or they
is,
film a factical face.
They film a practical face where the father is on the crapper at one particular point, and it's like it's Psycho Goreman giving directions. If you remember this bit, he's like, "You have to go to."
I'm sorry.
It's where he was having
Find
like
me! Where?
He was having this crisis.
Go to the corner! Yeah.
He was having this crisis of confidence, the father, and then he sees this means of redemption, and it's just so funny. But also when, Psycho Goreman's former lieutenants and generals and whatever all show up at one point halfway through the film, the distinctively different design of all of them, Blender
They all
Man.
look like literally from different, not only planets, but different dimensions.
Yeah.
Like, they do such a good job of that.
Yeah, crazy dreadlock person, and like the weird, almost like droid-looking guy with the talking parrot, and I mean, there's just so much
The
going.
hooded, baby-faced figure.
That was crazy too. Yeah, and also where a certain head gets run over after it thought it escaped, as it was doing a little head roll
Yep.
thing, and just trying to go along. And then also the design of everybody at the council. There's even one person who looks very much like Krang from
A mix
yeah.
between Krang and the Mars Attacks Martians.
Yes, true. So actually, maybe more so the latter, as you were saying. But yeah, because Krang in the stomach.
Yeah,
now
but still,
now that I
same
think about it,
look.
Same sort of scenario. So I mean, such distinctive design, and you can tell the amount. Like this is. As I was rewatching both of the Gremlins movies this past weekend, especially the second one, where you saw such a distinctively different design for every gremlin of this new batch and stuff, it was a similar approach here, where like there was just so much time and attention. Like, shout out to Rick Baker, obviously didn't do this, but his influence lives on, and some of the great special effects people, as far as just a love of practical and spending such, I would presume, immense amount of time on a distinctively different look as opposed to like prototyping it kind of thing.
I think the best and last point to go out on would be to say that this would be the best of the season presentation of Up All Night with Gilbert Gottfried, Elvira's show, or Joe Bob Briggs. If any of these three covered this movie, it would be one of the best episodes that they'd ever done.
Yeah, it would have been on USA Up All Night back in the
Exactly.
day.
That's why. That's
like,
Gilbert
sorta-
Gottfried was my guy while you watched Joe
okay.
Bob Briggs.
Yeah, because
So
that was
the
few
USA
years
Up All
later.
Night was
Yeah.
me. Yeah. Yeah. Youngin, whatever.
Only a couple years, but damn it, this just feels so much within the spirit of that time, and I think that's why it spoke to both of us so much. And if you're down like a clown, Charlie Brown, I think it'll do the same for you.
Absolutely. So check it out. It's worth the rental fee and even the purchase fee on VOD right now. I'm going to wait to get
for
myself a
practical,
Blu-ray.
yeah.
But it was still worth the rental to talk about it
Yeah, I
and
think
make
it's
sure
like
that the
$6,
Blu-ray is worth it.
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Totally fun,
Less
totally
than a movie
awesome.
ticket.
Especially great if you get some friends together to have some brews or whatever while you watch it. It's going to be an excellent time. So go check out Psycho Goreman outside of the title. Believe me, it's still funny. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, I've been Jaime and Fuego.
Thank you so much to all of our patrons for supporting the channel a little bit more directly. Until next time, remember though, stay scared!
Psycho.